The massive space station Orbital 7 never sleeps. Ships come and go every hour, carrying traders from 100 different worlds. The main levels buzz with activity. Aliens making deals, buying exotic goods, and living their busy lives. But down in the forgotten lower decks, where the air smells of recycled waste and broken dreams, Kyleth works alone. Kyleth belongs to the Vorthak species, known across the galaxy for their beautiful shell-like skin that shimmers like precious jewels. But Kyleth is different. Instead of the bright, colorful patterns that make other Vorthak so attractive, their shell is dull and spotted, like old metal left out in the rain. In Vorthak society, this makes them worthless. No one would ever want to marry someone who looks so ordinary. Every day, Kyleth scrubs the bio-waste containers that keep the station running. It's dirty work that no one else wants to do. The job pays barely enough for a tiny room and basic food. Other Vorthak who work on the station pretend not to see them. When Kyleth walks by, they turn their heads away or suddenly become very interested in their work. The message is clear. You don't belong with us. The alien traders are even worse. They treat Kyleth like a piece of furniture, something that exists but doesn't matter. They throw their trash on the floor right after Kyleth has cleaned it. They push past without saying, "Excuse me." Some days, Kyleth wonders if they would even notice if he disappeared completely. But Kyleth is smart. While scrubbing and cleaning, they notice things other people miss. They see how the waste flows through the station's systems. They understand which recycling patterns work best and which ones cause problems. They know more about keeping Orbital 7 running than most of the engineers who get paid 10 times more. One day, while Kyleth is working in the lower decks recycling center, something unusual happens. A human woman appears, carrying a data pad and looking around with curious eyes. Humans are rare on Orbital 7. Most aliens find them too emotional and unpredictable for serious business. Dr. Hannah Kim is studying how different species live together on space stations. She's trying to understand the station's ecosystem, not just the air and water systems, but how all the different beings interact with each other and their environment. Her research has brought her to places most people never visit. As Hannah watches Kyleth work, she notices something remarkable. The young Vorthak isn't just randomly cleaning. They're following a specific pattern, adjusting the waste flow in small ways that make the whole system work better. When Hannah checks her readings, she realizes that this section of the station runs more efficiently than anywhere else. "Excuse me," Hannah says, walking over to Kyleth. "I'm studying the station's waste management systems. I noticed you're doing something different here. Could you explain your process?" Kyleth stops working and stares at her. No one has asked them a direct question in months. No one has shown interest in their work ever. For a moment, they can't even speak. I just noticed the flow works better if you adjust the intake valves in sequence instead of all at once," Kyleth finally manages to say. "It prevents backups in Section 7. Hannah's eyes light up with genuine interest. "That's brilliant. I've been wondering why this section never has the overflow problems that plague other areas. You've essentially redesigned the flow pattern. For the first time in years, someone is treating Kyleth like their thoughts matter, like they exist as more than just another piece of station equipment. The simple courtesy of being seen and heard hits Kyleth like a physical blow. This small moment of recognition will change everything. After that first conversation, something changes in Kyleth's world. Dr. Hannah Kim returns the next day, and the day after that. She brings sandwiches from the upper deck food courts, real food, not the protein paste that Kyleth usually eats. More importantly, she brings questions. "How did you figure out the valve timing?" Hannah asks, unwrapping her lunch. "Did someone teach you or did you work it out yourself?" No one has ever cared about Kyleth's thoughts before. At first they give short, nervous answers, but Hannah listens with genuine interest, asking follow-up questions that show she really understands what they're talking about. Slowly, Kyleth begins to open up. They start meeting in an old observation deck that nobody uses anymore. The windows look out into space, showing the endless dance of ships coming and going. The room is dusty and forgotten, just like Kyleth used to feel. But now it becomes their special place, somewhere they can talk without other beings staring or judging. During one of their conversations, Hannah asks about Kyleth's family. The question brings up painful memories. Kyleth explains how Vorthak society works, how the brightness and pattern of your shell determines everything about your life. The most beautiful Vorthak become leaders, artists, or wealthy traders. Those with decent shells find good jobs and suitable mates, but someone like Kyleth with dull mottled coloring is considered genetically flawed. My parents were so ashamed, Kyleth says quietly, looking out at the stars. They tried different treatments when I was young, chemicals to brighten my shell, therapy to improve the patterns. Nothing worked. When I turned adult age, they basically told me to leave and not embarrass the family anymore. Hana feels anger burning in her chest. How could anyone treat their own child that way? But she keeps her voice calm and gentle. That must have been incredibly painful. The worst part is the mating rituals, Kyleth continues. Other species don't understand. For Vorthak, choosing a mate isn't just about love or companionship. It's about showing your own worth through your partner's beauty. No respectable Vorthak would ever be seen with someone like me. I'll spend my whole life alone. Hana studies Kyleth's shell in the starlight streaming through the observation windows. She sees what others have missed completely. The patterns aren't random or ugly. They're subtle and complex, like looking at a night sky full of distant galaxies. The mottled colors shift and change as Kyleth moves, creating an effect that reminds her of moonlight on water. I think your shell is beautiful, she says simply. It looks like starlight scattered across dark water. Most Vorthak shells are bright and obvious. Yours has mystery and depth. Kyleth stares at her in shock. No one has ever called them beautiful before. They've spent so many years being told they're defective that they can't quite believe what they're hearing. You're just being kind, Kyleth whispers. I'm being honest, Hana replies firmly. Beauty isn't about following rules or meeting expectations. It's about being unique and interesting. Your shell tells a story that no other Vorthaks does. As weeks pass, their friendship grows stronger. They discuss everything: science, philosophy, dreams for the future. Hana discovers that Kyleth has an incredible mind. They've taught themselves engineering, biology, and systems theory just by observing and thinking. They understand complex concepts that many university graduates struggle with. You could be a chief engineer on any station in the galaxy, Hana tells them one day. Your insights about system efficiency are revolutionary. Who would hire someone who looks like me? Kyleth asks sadly. Someone smart enough to care more about what's inside your head than what's on your shell, Hana answers. For Kyleth, these conversations are like discovering they can breathe underwater. All their life, they've been drowning in loneliness and rejection. Now, for the first time, someone sees their worth, someone enjoys their company, someone thinks they matter. And for Hana, getting to know Kyleth is equally transformative. She realizes that one of the most brilliant minds she's ever encountered has been wasting away in the station's basement, hidden from the world by prejudice and shallow thinking. Their unlikely friendship is about to become something even more extraordinary. 3 months into their friendship, Hana says something that changes everything. They're sitting in their usual spot in the abandoned observation deck, sharing dinner and watching cargo ships dock in the distance. I've been thinking, Hana says, setting down her food. What if we made this official? What if we had a bonding ceremony? Kyleth nearly chokes on their meal. In galactic society, a bonding ceremony is the most serious commitment two beings can make. Similar to human marriage, but recognized across all species. It means choosing to spend your life with someone, sharing resources, making decisions, together, and publicly declaring your partnership. That's not funny, Kyleth says, their voice shaking. Please don't joke about something like that. I'm not joking, Hana replies seriously. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. Kyleth stares at her in disbelief. You're a respected human scientist. I'm a waste processor that my own species considers defective. Why would you want to bond with me? Because you're the most interesting, intelligent, and kind person I've ever met, Hana says simply. Because I enjoy every moment we spend together. Because when I think about my future, I can't imagine it without you in it. Kyleth stands up abruptly, pacing to the window. You don't understand what this would mean. Humans are already the most influential species in the galaxy. Everyone respects your people. If you bond with me, they'll think you've lost your mind. Your career, your reputation, everything will be ruined. My career doesn't matter if I'm not happy, Hana says, joining them at the window. And I've never been happier than I am when I'm with you. The conversation spreads across Orbital 7 like wildfire. In the crowded marketplaces, beings whisper about the crazy human scientist who wants to marry a defective Vorthak. Some laugh, others shake their heads in disbelief. A few are genuinely curious about what could drive such an unusual decision. The reaction from other Vorthak is explosive. Zektar, who works in station communications, corners Kyleth near the waste processing center. "Have you lost what little sense you were born with?" he hisses. "This human is obviously playing some kind of sick joke on you, or maybe she's studying you like a lab specimen." "It's not like that," Kyleth protests weakly. "Wake up," Zektar snaps. "No respectable being would actually want to bond with you. She's either crazy or cruel. Either way, you're going to embarrass our entire species even more than you already." The human community's reaction is just as harsh, but in a different way. Dr. Chen Wei, Hana's research colleague, pulls her aside in the station's science lab. "Hana, I'm worried about you," he says gently. "This Vorthak, are you sure you know what you're doing? I mean, they're clearly intelligent, but bonding ceremonies are permanent. You're young, successful, with your whole career ahead of you. Why limit yourself like this?" "I'm not limiting myself," Hana replies firmly. "I'm choosing to spend my life with someone I care about." "But the social implications," Dr. Chen continues. "Other humans will question your judgment. Alien species might not take you seriously in negotiations. Have you really thought this through?" Even Captain Rodriguez, who runs the station's human quarter, requests a private meeting with Hana. "Doctor, I've received complaints from several species representatives. They're concerned about the precedent this sets. Interspecies relationships are one thing, but formal bonding ceremonies between such different species, it's unprecedented." "Maybe it's time for a new precedent," Hana says calmly. Despite all the pressure and criticism, Hana doesn't waver. She finds Kyleth 3 days later, hiding in their work area, looking miserable. "Everyone thinks you're making a mistake," Kyleth says without looking up. "Maybe they're right. Maybe you should find someone more suitable." Hana kneels down beside them. "The only mistake would be letting other people's narrow minds decide my future. I know what I want, Kyleth. The question is, do you want it too?" Kyleth looks into her eyes and sees no doubt, no hesitation, only genuine love and determination. For the first time in their life, someone has chosen them. Not out of pity or obligation, but out of real affection and respect. "Yes," they whisper. "Yes, I want this more than anything." The bonding ceremony takes place in the same observation deck where their friendship began. Only a few beings attend. Dr. Chen comes to support his colleague, despite his concerns. A Zentari trader who has always been kind to Kyleth brings flowers from her homeworld. Captain Rodriguez performs the official ceremony, though he still looks worried. As they exchange vows promising to support and care for each other, Kyleth realizes that love really can transcend every boundary that society tries to build. And Hana discovers that choosing someone because of who they are, rather than what others think of them, is the most liberating decision she's ever made. 2 weeks before their bonding ceremony, Hana insists they go through the standard genetic compatibility tests. It's routine procedure for interspecies partnerships, making sure there won't be any dangerous biological reactions when they live together long-term. "It's just a formality," Hana explains as they walk to the medical center. "Some species have proteins that can cause allergic reactions in others. Better to know now than find out the hard way later." Kyleth nods nervously. They've never had detailed genetic testing before. Growing up, their parents were too ashamed to take them for proper medical care. The basic health scans for their work permit only checked for diseases, nothing deeper. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the station's chief medical officer, takes blood samples from both of them. "Results should be ready in a few hours," she says with a professional smile. "I'll send them to your personal devices." That evening, Hana is reviewing research data in her quarters when her communicator chimes with the test results. She opens the file expecting to see the usual boring medical numbers. Instead, her jaw drops open. Something is very wrong with Kyleth's genetic profile, or rather, something is incredibly, impossibly right. Hannah stares at the screen, reading the data over and over again. According to the analysis, Kyleth isn't pure Vorthak. Their DNA contains genetic markers that shouldn't exist anymore, fragments from a species that vanished from the galaxy thousands of years ago. She runs to find Kyleth, who is cleaning equipment in the lower deck maintenance area. "We need to talk," she says breathlessly. "Right now, privately." They hurry to their observation deck hideaway. Hannah pulls up the genetic results on her tablet, her hands shaking with excitement. "Kyleth, do you know anything about your family history? Your grandparents, great-grandparents, anything going back generations?" "Not much," Kyleth replies, confused by her urgency. "My parents never talked about the family tree. I always assumed..." They were embarrassed about having defective relatives. "You're not defective," Hannah says firmly. "Look at this data. These genetic markers here, they're not Vorthak, they're Keth Mori." Kyleth stares at her blankly. "I don't know what that means." Hannah takes a deep breath. "The Keth Mori were called the Builders. They created most of the advanced technology we still use today. The jump gates that let ships travel between star systems, the atmospheric processes that make dead planets livable, the energy systems that power major space stations like this. One. What happened to them, Kyleth asks. Nobody knows. About 3,000 years ago they just vanished. Left behind all their technology, but no trace of where they went or why they disappeared. It's one of the galaxy's greatest mysteries. Hannah points to specific lines in the genetic readout. But according to this, they didn't completely disappear. Some of them must have survived, had children with other species. The genetic traces have been passed down through generations, getting weaker each time. "So I'm part Keth Mori?" Kyleth asks, still trying to understand. "More than part. These markers are incredibly strong in your DNA. You might be one of the closest living relatives to the original Builders still alive today." Kyleth looks down at their dull, mottled shell. "But I'm nothing special. I'm just a waste processor that nobody wants." "That's what I thought too until I saw this," Hannah says, pulling up more data. "Your shell pattern isn't a genetic defect. Look at these microscopic images." The tablet screen shows detailed views of Kyleth's carapace at the cellular level. What looks dull and random to the naked eye is actually incredibly complex. Thousands of tiny structures arranged in precise geometric patterns. "These aren't just color variations," Hannah explains excitedly. "They're organic circuits. Your shell is designed to interface with technology, like a living computer connection. That's why it looks different from other Vorthak shells. It's not meant for display. It's meant for function." "Interface with what technology?" Kyleth asks. "Keth Mori technology," Hannah says. "The Builders created machines that could only be operated by someone with the right genetic code and the right biological interface. For thousands of years, their ancient sites have been completely inactive because no one alive could turn them on. The implications hit them both at the same time. Across the galaxy, there are hundreds of abandoned Keth Mori installations, mysterious structures that archaeologists and treasure hunters have tried to activate for centuries. Everyone assumed the technology was broken or too advanced to understand. But what if it was just waiting for the right person to wake it up? "The efficiency improvements you've been making to the station's systems," Hannah says slowly, "the way you instinctively understand how complex machinery should work. It's not just intelligence, it's genetic memory. Your ancestors built these kinds of systems." Kyleth touches their shell with new understanding. All their life they've been told this dull spotted pattern made them worthless. Now they're learning it might be the key to unlocking the galaxy's most advanced technology. But why keep it secret? Kyleth asks. "If people knew what I really was..." "That's exactly why we need to be careful," Hannah says seriously. "If word gets out that you can activate Keth Mori technology, every government, corporation and treasure hunter in the galaxy will want to get their hands on you. We need to figure out what this means before anyone else finds out." Neither of them realizes that their conversation is already too late. The genetic testing data has automatically been flagged by the station's security systems, and copies have been sent to databases across the galaxy. By tomorrow, Kyleth's secret will be out, and their quiet life will be over forever. The first sign that something has gone terribly wrong comes at breakfast the next morning. Hannah and Kyleth are eating in their usual quiet corner of the lower deck cafeteria when every news screen in the room suddenly displays the same shocking headline: Living Kethmori Descendant Discovered on Orbital 7. Kyleth's photograph fills the screens, the official ID photo from their work permit, now being broadcast across the entire galaxy. The news anchor, a blue-skinned Altarian with 4 eyes, speaks in excited tones about the greatest archaeological discovery in galactic history. "How did they find out?" Kyleth whispers, their voice filled with panic. Hannah's face goes pale as she realizes the truth. The medical database, genetic test results are automatically screened for significant anomalies. The system must have flagged your Kethmori markers and sent alerts to research institutions across the galaxy. Around them, other beings in the cafeteria start pointing and staring. Some take pictures with their personal devices. A Zentari trader approaches their table with greedy eyes gleaming. "You're the Kethmori hybrid, aren't you?" he says loudly. "I represent several interested parties who would pay handsomely for exclusive access to your abilities. We need to leave." "Now," Hannah says, grabbing Kyleth's arm, but as they try to exit the cafeteria, more beings block their path. Word is spreading through the station faster than they can move. Within minutes, a crowd has gathered, everyone wanting to see the legendary descendant of the builders. The real chaos starts an hour later, when the first news reports come in from archaeological sites across the galaxy. On the desert planet, Zerion Prime, a massive Kethmori pyramid that has been dormant for 3,000 years, suddenly blazes with light. Ancient doorways slide open for the first time since the builders vanished, revealing chambers filled with technology that makes current galactic science look primitive. On the ice world of Norvac Beta, Kethmori installations buried under kilometers of snow begin melting the ice around them, creating vast steam clouds visible from orbit. Mining operations across the galaxy report that abandoned builder sites in their territories are spontaneously activating, humming with power that no one understands. The most shocking discovery comes from the core worlds. On New Centauri, the planet's main city is built around a massive Kethmori structure that everyone assumed was just decorative ruins. Now that structure is alive with energy, its walls displaying moving patterns of light that seem to pulse in rhythm with Kyleth's heartbeat, somehow synchronized across thousands of light-years of space. "It's responding to your genetic signature," Hannah explains as they watch the news coverage from their quarters. "Just knowing you exist is enough to wake up technology that's been sleeping for millennia. The galactic response is immediate and terrifying. Corporate executives see unlimited profit in controlling someone who can activate the most advanced technology ever created. Military leaders imagine weapons systems that could make their fleets invincible. Treasure hunters calculate the value of accessing sealed Kethmori vaults. Captain Rodriguez visits them with grim news. "I've received 17 formal requests for your extradition in the past 2 hours. The Vorthan Empire claims you as a citizen since you're part Vorthak. The Terran Federation wants to study you for the good of humanity. 3 different corporate consortiums are offering to buy your contract from the station." "What does that mean?" Kyleth asks nervously. "It means you've become the most valuable person in the galaxy," Rodriguez replies. "And that makes you incredibly dangerous to everyone around you." The first attack comes that evening. A team of Corallian mercenaries tries to break into the lower decks, armed with stun weapons and capture nets. Station security fights them off, but barely. During the firefight, a stray energy blast damages the main power coupling for an entire section of the station. "This is just the beginning," Hannah tells Kyleth as they pack their few belongings. "Every criminal organization, every government black ops team, every corporate security force in the galaxy is going to come after you." "Maybe I should just turn myself in," Kyleth says desperately. "Let them study me or whatever they want. At least then innocent people won't get hurt." "They won't just study you," Hannah says firmly. "They'll lock you up, run experiments, maybe even try to clone you. You'd spend the rest of your life as a prisoner, and they'd use your abilities to build weapons or make themselves rich." The second attack comes before dawn. This time it's not mercenaries, but a full military strike team from the Nexus Syndicate, one of the galaxy's largest mining corporations. They cut through the station's outer hull with plasma torches, trying to reach the lower decks where Kyleth is hiding. Captain Rodriguez finds them in the chaos. There's a cargo ship leaving in 10 minutes for the Outer Rim territories. It's your only chance to get off this station alive. As they run through the maintenance tunnels toward the docking bay, explosions echo behind them. The station shudders under the assault of multiple attacking forces, all trying to capture the most important person in the galaxy. Kyleth looks back at the only home they've ever known, now burning and under siege because of what they are. "I never wanted any of this," they whisper. "I know," Hana says, taking their hand as they board the cargo ship. "But sometimes the universe has bigger plans for us than we have for ourselves." As their ship launches into space, they can see at least 6 other vessels converging on orbital. 7. The hunt for the Kethmori descendant has begun, and there's nowhere in the galaxy they can hide for long. The cargo ship that rescues them from Orbital 7 belongs to Captain Jiro Nakamura, a gruff human smuggler who owes Hana a favor. From her early research days, his ship, the Wandering Star, isn't much to look at. Patches cover hull breaches, the engines make concerning noises, and the life support system has a habit of shutting down at random moments. "I can take you as far as the Kepler sector," Jiro says, checking his navigation charts. "After that, you're on your own. Half the galaxy is looking for you two, and I don't want to end up in a corporate prison." Their first stop is the mining colony on asteroid B447, where they need to refuel and get supplies. It's supposed to be a quick, anonymous transaction, but as soon as they land, something extraordinary happens. The asteroid has a small Kethmori structure, just a simple tower that archaeologists have been studying for decades without learning anything useful. The moment Kyleth steps off the ship, the tower begins to glow with soft blue light. Ancient symbols appear on its surface, rotating and changing in patterns that mesmerize everyone who looks at them. "By the void," whispers Dr. Kenji Sato, the colony's chief archaeologist. "In 30 years of study, we've never seen it do anything like this." Within hours, the structure has completely transformed. Hidden panels slide open, revealing chambers filled with devices that hum with mysterious energy. One room contains what appears to be a medical facility, with technology so advanced that it can heal injuries by simply scanning them with light. Another holds what looks like a library, with information stored in crystals that project 3-dimensional images when touched. "We need to leave," Hana says urgently as she watches ships appearing on the colony's sensor screens. Word is spreading too fast, but they're too late. A fleet of Nexus Syndicate vessels drops out of hyperspace, followed by military ships from 3 different governments. The race to capture Kyleth has reached the asteroid. Captain Nakamura gets them off the surface, just as the first security teams land. The Wandering Star jumps to hyperspace with weapons fire exploding around them. "This is insane," Nakamura mutters as he plots their next course. "Everywhere you go, you wake up builder technology. It's like you're some kind of walking activation." Key. Their second stop is even more dramatic. On the agricultural world of Haven's Rest, there's a massive Kethmori complex buried beneath the main farming settlement. For generations, the colonists have built their homes on top of it, never knowing what lies underneath. When Kyleth arrives, the entire complex powers up at once. The ground shakes as ancient machinery comes online. Massive towers rise from the earth, their surfaces covered in flowing patterns of light. The agricultural equipment across the entire planet suddenly becomes 10 times more efficient, turning barren soil into fertile farmland in a matter of hours. But the most shocking discovery happens by accident. During their escape from Haven's Rest, Hana is injured when debris from an attacking ship hits their vessel. As she lies unconscious in the medical bay, Kyleth sits beside her, holding her hand and desperately wishing she would wake up. That's when the ship's proximity alarms start screaming. Outside, a derelict Kethmori station that has been drifting dead in space for thousands of years suddenly blazes with life. But this time, something is different. The activation patterns are more complex, Captain Nakamura observes, studying his sensor readings. It's not just turning on, it's actually communicating, sending out signals in mathematical sequences. As Hana recovers from her injuries, she and Kyleth review the data from all their encounters with Kethmori technology. A disturbing pattern emerges. Look at the energy signatures, Hannah says, pointing to the analysis charts. When you were alone at the asteroid, the technology activated but remained relatively simple. Basic functions, straightforward operations. But at Haven's Rest, when we were together, the complexity increased dramatically, Kyleth adds, beginning to understand. And here, when you were emotionally distressed about my injury, the derelict station didn't just activate, it started trying to communicate, Hannah continues. The technology isn't just responding to your genetic code, it's responding to our relationship. The implications are staggering. The Kethmori didn't just build their technology to be operated by their descendants. They built it to be activated by bonds of genuine care and partnership between different species. That's why the builders vanished, Hannah realizes with growing excitement. They weren't destroyed or driven away, they were waiting for their descendants to find someone who would love them, not for what they could provide, but for who they truly were. Their moment of revelation is interrupted by Captain Nakamura's urgent voice over the comm system. We've got company, big company. Looks like every major fleet in the galaxy just dropped out of hyperspace around us. Through the viewport, they can see dozens of ships surrounding them, corporate vessels, military cruisers, even pirate fleets that have joined the hunt. Everyone wants to capture the person who can unlock the galaxy's greatest treasures. There's something else, Kyleth says quietly, studying the sensor displays. The Kethmori station isn't just communicating randomly. It's sending out a specific signal, like a beacon. A beacon to what? Hannah asks. Before Kyleth can answer, their proximity alarms sound again. Something massive is approaching through hyperspace, something so large that it's distorting space-time around it. Whatever that signal was calling, Captain Nakamura says, in a voice filled with awe and terror, I think it just answered. The chase across the galaxy has led them to something far more significant than ancient ruins and abandoned technology. They're about to discover what the Kethmori have really been waiting for all these centuries. The massive object emerging from hyperspace isn't a ship, it's a planet-sized structure, covered in the distinctive geometric patterns of Kethmori design. But before they can process what they're seeing, the pursuing fleets open fire on each other in their desperation to capture Kyleth. The space around them erupts into chaos as different factions battle for control. Hold on, Captain Nakamura shouts as weapons fire explodes around the wandering star. I'm getting us out of here, but their ship takes a direct hit from a Nexus Syndicate cruiser. The engines fail, life support starts flickering, and they're pulled into the gravity well of a nearby dead planet. Nakamura does his best to control their descent, but they're going down hard. The crash landing tears apart half the ship and leaves them stranded on a world that's been lifeless for millions of years. The planet's surface is covered in ancient ruins, not just small structures like they've seen before, but an entire city that stretches to the horizon. This is Kethmori Prime, Hannah breathes, recognizing the location from archaeological databases. The builder homeworld. No one's been able to get inside the main complex. It's been sealed tighter than a vault for 3,000 years. As they approach the massive central structure, something incredible happens. The seamless walls begin to shift and change, revealing an entrance that perfectly fits their group. It's as if the building has been waiting specifically for them. Inside, the complex is nothing like the ruins they've encountered before. Instead of empty chambers and mysterious devices, they find themselves in a vast hall filled with flowing patterns of light that dance across the walls like living artwork. The air itself seems to shimmer with energy. Welcome, children of two worlds, a voice says, speaking directly into their minds rather than through their ears. Holographic figures begin to materialize around them. Tall, elegant beings with features that seem familiar yet alien. Their skin has the same subtle, complex patterns as Kyleth's shell, but covering their entire bodies in intricate designs that shift and change like flowing water. We are the Kethmori, the voice continues, coming from the central figure. Or, rather, we are the memory of what we once were. You're not really here, are you? Hannah asks, her scientific mind analyzing what she's experiencing. Our physical forms transcended material existence long ago, the figure explains. We evolved beyond the need for bodies, for planets, for the limitations of matter and energy. But we left these recordings for those who would come after us. Kyleth steps forward nervously. I'm one of your descendants. The genetic tests showed... You are more than a descendant, the Kethmori responds gently. You are a bridge between what we were and what we became. We scattered our genetic heritage among many species across the galaxy, creating hybrids who could one day unlock our final gift to younger civilizations. The holographic environment around them changes, showing images of the galaxy as it was thousands of years ago. The Kethmori civilization at its peak, vast cities, incredible technology, peaceful cooperation between different worlds. But advanced technology alone is not enough, the figure continues. We learned this through painful experience. A civilization that builds powerful tools without wisdom, without compassion, without the ability to value others for who they truly are, such a civilization destroys itself. The images shift to show darker scenes, wars fought with Kethmori weapons, worlds devastated by Kethmori terraforming technology turned into instruments of conquest, species wiped out by those who saw only the power our gifts could provide. So, we established a test, the figure explains. Our technology would only fully activate when one of our hybrid descendants found genuine acceptance from another species. Not acceptance based on what they could provide, but acceptance of who they truly were. Love that looked beyond surface appearance, beyond social status, beyond potential gain. Hana feels tears forming in her eyes as she understands. Most species failed the test. Indeed, for 3,000 years our hybrid descendants lived as outcasts among their own people. They were rejected for their unusual appearance, dismissed as defective, ignored and forgotten. And when others discovered their heritage, they saw only opportunity for exploitation. The holographic Kethmori turns to look directly at Hana. But humans are different. Your species has a remarkable capacity for seeing worth in others that the galaxy overlooks. You form bonds not based on genetic compatibility or social advantage, but on connection of minds and hearts. That's why the technology only works when we're together, Kyleth realizes. It's not just about my genetic code, it's about our relationship. The partnership must be genuine, the figure confirms, built on mutual respect, shared understanding, and selfless care for one another's well-being. The technology can sense the difference between true love and mere convenience. Around them, the walls begin displaying images of other worlds where Kethmori hybrids have lived throughout history. Most show lonely figures working in obscurity, rejected by their societies. But occasionally, there are glimpses of partnerships, brief moments where understanding was found across species lines. A few others have passed the test over the centuries, the figure explains, but their relationships were discovered by those who would exploit them. They were separated, imprisoned, or worse. You two are the first to survive long enough to reach this place. What happens now? Hana asks. The holographic Kethmori smiles, an expression that somehow conveys both ancient wisdom and eternal hope. Now you have a choice. Our technology can transform the galaxy, end scarcity, cure diseases, make dead worlds bloom with life. But it will only work for those who approach it with the same spirit of selfless partnership that brought you here. And if we refuse, Kyleth asks, then the technology returns to dormancy, and the galaxy continues as it has. The choice is yours. But know this, you will not walk this path alone. Others like you exist across the stars waiting for the courage to reveal themselves. As the implications of their discovery sink in, Hana and Kyleth realize they're not just deciding their own fate. They're choosing the future direction of galactic civilization itself. Outside, the various fleets are still fighting over who gets to capture them, completely unaware that the real prize isn't control over ancient technology. It's learning to value others for who they truly are. The sounds of orbital bombardment echo through the ancient halls as the pursuing fleets continue their battle. Above the planet's surface, explosions light up the dead sky, visible through the crystal windows of the Kethmori complex. Everyone wants to be the first to capture Kyleth and claim the builder technology for themselves. They're destroying each other out there, Kyleth observes sadly, watching the weapons fire streak across the darkness. All this violence just to get control of me. The holographic Kethmori figure nods with ancient sadness. This is exactly What we feared would happen. This is why we created the test. Hannah and Kyleth follow the glowing guide deeper into the complex, past chambers filled with dormant machinery and walls covered in mathematical equations that seem to describe the fundamental forces of the universe. Finally, they reach the central chamber, a vast spherical room with a single platform in the center, surrounded by concentric rings of complex technology. This is the heart of Kethmori, the holographic figure explains. From here, our technology. Network spans the entire galaxy, but it has remained silent for 3,000 years, waiting for the right moment to awaken. What makes humans so special? Hannah asks. Why us and not the hundreds of other species in the galaxy? The figure's expression becomes almost paternal. Most species form partnerships based on practical considerations, genetic compatibility for reproduction, economic advantage, social status, political alliance. Even their friendships are usually built on what each party can gain from the relationship. Images appear around them showing various alien cultures, Vorthak choosing mates based on shell beauty, Zentari forming business partnerships for profit, Corallians creating military alliances for protection. But humans are different, the figure continues. Your species has an unusual capacity for what you call unconditional love. You form bonds with others simply because you enjoy their company, because you respect their minds, because you care about their happiness. Not all humans are like that, Hannah protests. We have our share of selfish people too, of course. But your culture, your stories, your greatest heroes, they all celebrate the idea of loving others despite their flaws, of seeing worth in those society rejects, of choosing loyalty over advantage. The chamber around them begins to change, showing scenes from human history and culture. A human child befriending a lost animal. Humans caring for elderly relatives who can no longer contribute to society. Human soldiers risking their lives to save civilians they've never met. Other species admire humans for your technology or your military prowess, the figure says. But we recognized something more valuable. Your ability to love without expecting a return on investment. Kyleth looks confused, but Hannah gets something from our relationship too. Companionship, intellectual stimulation. True, the figure agrees. But that's not why she first approached you. Think back to that first day in the waste processing center. The chamber fills with a recreation of that moment. Hannah watching Kyleth work, noticing their intelligence, walking over to ask questions about the waste management systems. I was just curious about the efficiency improvements, Hannah remembers. I wanted to understand how the systems worked. But you didn't have to speak to Kyleth directly, the figure points out. You could have observed from a distance, analyzed. The data even hacked the station's monitoring systems to get the information you needed. Instead, you chose to treat them as a person worth talking to. The scene plays out again, and Hannah sees it from a new perspective. She had walked up to Kyleth not because she needed something from them, but because she instinctively treated them as an equal deserving of respect and acknowledgement. That simple act of courtesy, recognizing the worth of someone your society had written off. That was the moment you passed our test, the figure explains. Everything that followed grew from that single choice to see value in another being. The technology around them begins to hum with increasing energy. Lights that have been dark for millennia start to glow. The patterns on the walls shift from static displays to flowing, living designs. The test was never about Kyleth proving they were worthy of love, the figure continues. It was about finding someone capable of giving love freely, without conditions, without expecting anything in return. But I did get something in return, Hannah insists. I got the best friend I've ever had. I got someone who understands me better than anyone else ever has. And therein lies the beautiful irony, the figure says with a smile. When you give love without expecting anything back, you often receive more than you could have imagined. But the gift only comes to those who would give it anyway, even if they got nothing in return. The chamber is now fully alive with energy. Through the crystal windows, they can see the orbital battle pausing as the various fleets detect massive power readings coming from the planet's surface. The network is awakening, the figure announces. Across the galaxy, our installations are coming online, ready to share their gifts with civilizations that have learned to value cooperation over conquest, understanding over exploitation. What do we do now? Kyleth asks. Now you become the bridge between what was and what could be, the figure replies. The technology will respond to partnerships like yours, genuine bonds between beings who see past surface differences to appreciate the mind and heart within. Outside, the first of the pursuing fleets is attempting to land on the planet's surface, but something strange is happening to their weapons systems. The aggressive technology is simply shutting down, as if the planet itself is rejecting violence. The network protects itself, the figure explains, and more importantly, it protects those who approach it with pure intentions. Your enemies cannot harm you here, but neither can they access what they seek through force. The moment of truth has arrived. Hana and Kyleth must decide whether to activate technology that could transform the galaxy, but only if others can learn to follow their example of looking beyond appearances to find the worth in every being. Standing in the center of the ancient chamber, Hana and Kyleth look at each other with a mixture of fear and determination. The weight of the galaxy's future rests on their decision. Around them, the Keith Mori technology pulses with patient energy, waiting for their choice. Are you ready? Hana asks, extending her hand. Kyleth takes it without hesitation. With you, I'm ready for anything. Together, they step onto the central platform. The moment their feet touch the ancient metal, the entire chamber explodes with light. Energy flows through the floor, up through their bodies, connecting them to a network that spans countless star systems. The sensation is overwhelming but beautiful, like suddenly being able to hear the heartbeat of the entire galaxy. Through the network, they can sense every Kethamori installation across thousands of worlds, all awakening simultaneously after millennia of sleep. Outside, the battle fleets surrounding the planet experience something unprecedented. Their weapons systems simply stop working, not damaged or destroyed, just gently, peacefully shut down. Energy beams fade to nothing. Missile systems refuse to fire. Even the most advanced military technology becomes as harmless as toys. Admiral Zhao of the Terran Federation fleet stares at his tactical display in confusion. All weapons offline, sir, his tactical officer reports. But our life support, navigation and communication systems are working perfectly. It's like something is selectively disabling only our ability to cause harm. Similar scenes play out across the various fleets. The Nexus Syndicate's mercenary ships find themselves surrounded by gentle energy fields that prevent them from moving aggressively, but don't interfere with basic ship functions. Corellian battle cruisers discover their targeting computers have been replaced with displays showing beautiful mathematical equations about universal harmony. Captain Nakamura, watching from the wreckage of his ship on the planet's surface, sees streams of light connecting the ancient ruins to points in the sky. They're not just activating the technology, he realizes with wonder. They're teaching it to be peaceful. The network's awakening sends ripples across the galaxy. On worlds where Kethamori installations have lain dormant for centuries, incredible changes begin to happen. Medical facilities that can heal any injury or disease come online, offering their services freely to anyone who approaches without hostile intent. Dead planets that haven't seen life for millions of years suddenly bloom, with green forests and clear rivers as terraforming systems activate. Atmospheric processes that can turn poisonous air into breathable atmosphere begin working on mining worlds where workers have struggled with dangerous conditions for generations. Energy systems that make current technology look primitive start, providing unlimited clean power to any civilization ready to use it peacefully. Starvation becomes a thing of the past as agricultural enhancement systems turn barren deserts into fertile farmland. But the most remarkable change happens in the communication networks. Every screen, every communication device, every information system across the galaxy receives the same message simultaneously. Not transmitted through conventional technology, but somehow imprinted directly into the consciousness of every thinking being. The holographic figure of the ancient Kethamori appears everywhere at once, in government chambers, corporate boardrooms, military command centers, and humble homes on 1,000 different worlds. Children of the galaxy, the figure speaks. its voice somehow translating perfectly into every language and communication method known to exist. We are the Kethmori, whom you call the Builders. For 3,000 years, we have waited for you to learn the lesson that our technology requires. The message continues, showing images of Hannah and Caleth's journey together, their first meeting in the waste processing center, their growing friendship, their decision to bond despite social pressure, and their discovery of the truth about Caleth's heritage. True strength does not come from the ability to dominate others, but from the wisdom to value those others overlook. True advancement is not measured by the power of your weapons, but by your capacity to see worth in the forgotten and abandoned. Across the galaxy, beings watch in amazement as the message reveals the simple truth that unlocked the greatest technological treasure in galactic history. Not a secret code or ancient ritual, but the basic act of one person treating another with kindness and respect, regardless of social expectations. On the Vorthak homeworld, Caleth's former relatives watch in shock as their defective family member is revealed as the key to unimaginable advancement. In corporate boardrooms, executives realize that all their schemes to capture and exploit Caleth would have been pointless. The technology only works for those who approach it with genuine good intentions. The gifts we leave behind will serve any who understand this truth, the message concludes. But they will never respond to force, never serve those who seek only personal gain, never empower those who would use them to harm others. As the message fades, something miraculous happens across the galaxy. Beings who have spent their lives being overlooked because of their appearance, their species, or their social status suddenly find others reaching out to them with new understanding. The lesson of Hannah and Caleth's love story spreads like ripples in a pond. On Orbital 7, now repaired by Kethmori technology, Captain Rodriguez implements new policies ensuring that every being on the station is treated with dignity, regardless of their job or appearance. The lower decks, once forgotten and neglected, become centers of innovation as beings previously dismissed for their differences contribute ideas that transform station operations. Months later, Hannah and Caleth travel the galaxy as ambassadors of the new age. They visit worlds where the Kethmori technology has brought prosperity and healing. But more importantly, they visit places where people are learning to see past surface differences to appreciate the worth of every individual. Their love story becomes more than legend. It becomes a template for how different species can find common ground, not through political treaties or trade agreements, but through the simple recognition that every being deserves to be valued for who they truly are. The galaxy has finally learned what humans have always known in their hearts, that the greatest strength comes not from the power to destroy, but from the courage to love unconditionally. And in learning this lesson, they've unlocked not just advanced technology, but a future where every being, no matter how different or overlooked, has the chance to shine.